welcome to Smashterpieces, a casual walk through the history of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster. My name is Joe.
My name is Matt.
And if you're new here, what we're doing in this show is we are playing one game for every character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate from 1984's Duck Hunt to 2019's Fire Emblem 3 Houses. And today's episode is covering a game that is far from 2019 still.
That's how the show works.
We are here to talk about the game representing fighter number 43, Toon Link. This is the 2002 GameCube title, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. A game about boats that are your dad.
There are a lot of boats for sure.
But only one of them is your dad. And it's not the one you think.
Which one is it?
Tetris Ship is your dad. That's a secret that they only tell you in the strategy guide.
No, I had the strategy guide.
I guess you were missing a page. And of course you were missing a page. I had that page. And none of the rest of the strategy guide.
That was back in the day when, strategy guides had, beat-for-beat screenshot summaries of cutscenes. So it was there's no reason to actually play the game.
I mean, there is, being that it's a lot better to watch the cutscene than to read what happens in the cutscene and look at screenshots.
Yeah, but it had that certain appeal to it, though. Back in the day, it was wow, video games are real. There are books about them.
What a time that existed at one point, and then GameFAQs took it out back and shot it in the back of the head.
Oh, well, early GameFAQs guides, those are a whole other trip.
It still survived a lot longer than we thought it would, but we're not here to talk about the state of game strategy guides. We're here to talk about game. And this is the game where we talk about boats.
People don't like hearing me talk about this game. They're afraid when I tell them the truth.
Yeah, because your truth is wrong. I'm gonna be the brave one and say it that
the brave hot take that a Zelda game is good.
I know a lot of people are wondering how I get the courage, but
so I did say on the pre-show that I don't care for Wind Waker that much, and I kind of like it even less than I remember now, because it's just frustrating to me how it's I remember macro design problems that I have, where it's just I don't think the game has any good dungeons.
Yeah, I would agree with that, actually. As much as I like this game, it probably has, the weakest set of dungeons in any 3D Zelda game.
There is not one good dungeon, and I think the best one is the one that everyone hates. But it's not the best in that I liked it. It's the best in that it was the least bad. So it's I had those macro problems where it's I don't like any of the dungeons. I don't like the Great Sea. I don't like the game's overall difficulty curve. But I found myself realizing a lot of micro level things that I didn't like either, where it's just everything in the game is just so goddamn slow. You get held up by text boxes that refuse to let you skip text. Link's controls feel really unpolished, where it's literally the way that he moves and turns, and he'll just jump off a ledge for no reason while you were trying to turn around. It's just the game feels shockingly similar to Mario Sunshine in many ways. And I do not think that it is a coincidence that these two games that have very similar problems to me came out around the same time, where Nintendo was realizing, oh shit, GameCube's not selling well, we gotta get these big games out.
Yeah, I like Wind Waker. Before, I think in the pre-show, I said it was my second favorite 3D Zelda game. I don't know if that stands up anymore. I still really like it. I really like Wind Waker, and it's mostly the aesthetics. For me, the aesthetics really kind of pull it together, of the sailing and all that shit.
I'll say, the aesthetics are great. I love the way the game looks. I love the way the game sounds. And it's funny, because back in the day, that's what everyone hated about it. But no, that's not what the problem is.
Yeah, for children that do not know this. When Wind Waker was first shown off, people were pissed because it looked like a baby game. That's the whole reason. And people decided it was bad just from that. And that's why Twilight Princess looks the way it does.
Which is to say, it looks bad.
It was a huge overcorrection.
Twilight Princess is like the opposite, where it's like, that's a solid Zelda game. I like it a lot. I think it's really ugly.
I think it is the one who, like, appearance-wise, has aged the worst in general. Like, when I could say that and Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask exist, where, like, I love N64 games. They all look terrible. All of them.
We'll talk about Twilight Princess when we get there, I guess. I think I interrupted you giving your thoughts on Wind Waker, though, as a whole.
It is really hard to ignore the fact that it's just not done.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so blatantly not done. And obviously the thing that people point to like, as like definitive proof of that is like the Triforce quest, which is very good proof that this game was not finished when it came out.
It's like malicious padding too. Like,
even the improved version in the HD version, which I played HD, you played the original GameCube version because you were doing something special, which we'll get to in a little bit because I think you should talk about that at least a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But like, even the HD version, which took the Triforce quest and made it slightly better. And by slightly better, I mean, instead of having to find all of the fucking charts, they just replaced some of the charts with the Triforce shards that were supposed to be there.
So that's not all they did. They also made it so that
they made it cheaper too.
They made it so that your default wallet had enough money for a single chart to be deciphered, which is not the case in the GameCube version.
And like, even then, it took me an entire fucking stream to finish it. And it was like a 4-hour stream. And it's so tedious. It's so fucking tedious. And some parts are just like the ghost ship where you're like, how the fuck was I supposed to know how was I supposed to know where to find this chart?
I literally did it and I forget where the chart is.
The idea is that you're supposed to go to every square on the map, talk to every fish, and eventually one of them might tell you the information you want to know.
Oh, but plenty of them tell you that the ghost ship is there.
If it was just a side quest, that'd be fine. Whatever. This is required for main progression.
Yeah, it's so many of those fish tell you, hey, this is a place that the ghost ship shows up. Here's when it shows up. And you'll listen to that advice, and you'll show up at the right time for the ghost ship, and then you can't do anything with it, because you need the chart for some fucking reason.
Yeah, you can't get on without it. So, like, yeah, the ghost ship is in my opinion, no, it's not the worst part. The worst part is the birds. That fucking section.
Yeah, but the birds are bad in a way that I'm used to.
Fair.
The ghost ship is just baffling. Like, it didn't need to be like this.
And the fact that, like, they're weak dungeons, but at the same time, like, there's so few of them. Like, I'm pretty sure the only Zelda game I can think of with fewer dungeons is maybe Majora's Mask.
And Majora's Mask has the best dungeons in the series, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. It has the best dungeon in the series, and also the fact that it has so few dungeons is kind of like something that they planned from the start, which you can tell was not the case with Wind Waker.
Well, yeah, one of the pearls, you show up to where the dungeon's supposed to be, and it's like, oops, whole thing's destroyed.
It's just gone. Well, here's the pearl. It is a bummer because everything about how this game looks, and I don't even have the issue with how Link controls. You veer off a little bit and you're jumping off into the sky. In my opinion, that's a problem the N64 games have too, which, to be fair, does not forgive the fact that a GameCube game also feels like that, but The N64 games at least have the advantage of they're the first games of their kind.
And I think they still hold up a lot better than Wind Waker does, frankly.
Well, yeah, they're done.
Well, also, like, they're also polished.
Well, yeah, a game has to be done to be polished.
Yeah, that's the thing. The fact that the game just blatantly isn't done, like, it affects the core gameplay loop in ways that people often give this game a pass on, where it just, like, fighting in this game feels bad. Moving in this game feels bad. And I don't know if the HD version touched any of those up, because, like, I have not played the original version in a very, very long time, even longer than since I played the HD version. And a lot of these problems I don't remember. So, like, maybe the HD version also fixed up a lot of the physics and stuff.
It might have. Because I played the GameCube version once, and that was, like, almost 10 years ago, but I've played HD twice now. And I don't remember having the same issues with specifically when playing HD, because I don't remember how the GameCube version feels.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. It's been too long.
Yeah, and, like, for what it's worth, the HD version fixes what it can.
They tried.
I've seen people say, like, oh, well, we know those dungeons were cut. Why didn't they put those dungeons back in? They did put them back in Twilight Princess. There are no dungeons left over for them to put into Wind Waker HD. So
but
it's like...
But also, it comes down to, like, just because they were cut doesn't mean they were done.
Yeah, yeah.
Or even partially done. It just means they were planned.
And the thing of it is, like, I don't even necessarily think that they should have made those changes, because at a certain point, that's not a remaster anymore. You're making a fundamentally different game. And, like, when you get to Great Fish Island and it's just destroyed, and then you need to go north, get the bombs, and then go south to Outside Island, like, what are you going to do in the HD version? Are you going to remove that section entirely? Or are you still going to have that section that is that is honestly pretty boring, and then also do a dungeon before it? Like, the options were to fundamentally change the game in ways that I don't necessarily think a remaster should do, or leave in all the bad filler and make you do even more on top of it. So the Wii U version is just, it's in this spot where there are so many problems with this game that it could not have fixed the game, but they did what they could in ways that counted. So I would say on a gameplay front, the Wii U version is objectively an improvement, and they did what they needed to do, and then made the game look ugly.
I still disagree with that, but that's neither here nor there.
I think the HD version looks terrible. It looks as bad as it could without being a fundamentally different game, I think.
But yeah, like, people who expected them to re-add in the dungeons, they were nuts. I think overall, I'm glad I played the HD version, except there's one massive fucking disadvantage to playing the HD version now. So, you played the GameCube version specifically so you could use a specific feature. Would you like to talk about this feature?
So, y'all remember the GameCube to Game Boy Advance link cable? 'Cause I never met another human being that owned one. I owned 4. I never used all 4 at once, but I can use all 4 at once to play Four Swords Adventures, the most underrated Zelda game ever made. But the GameCube version of Wind Waker supports the Game Boy Advance to GameCube link cable for the Tingle Tuner, which is like a co-op feature that allows a friend to help you in the game. And like you play as Tingle, who is like using this remote control thing, and Tingle can attack enemies and give you buffs and stuff. And there's even an entire side quest that is exclusively for the Tingle Tuner, which is finding hidden Tingle statues in the dungeons. There's one in each dungeon, and you use the Tingle Tuner to find them, which the Wii U version replaced with posting photos of where they are on Miiverse, which,
Oops! If you're a child wondering what Miiverse is, don't worry about it, it's gone.
But the Tingle Tuner, it's not great. because it definitely was an afterthought that got very little development attention. And there's shockingly huge swaths of the game where you're just not allowed to use it. But it's cute and novel, and I think that it's worth trying, because Tingle even has like a lot of unique dialogue in there where it's like there's a whole subplot of Tingle being really mad throughout all of Dragon Roost Cavern because he has a crush on Medley and you get to hang out with Medley, which is creepy, but
he can fucking get in line.
And then like you get to the Forest Haven and then like Tingle reveals that he's also dealing weapons to the pirates on the side because Tetra just shows up.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form.
You know, it's awesome. Like there's a lot of genuinely good dialogue in there, and then every time you go into a boss fight, Tingle's like, I got a cramp, I can't help, sorry. And then you go into Ganon's castle, and Tingle never says anything. He just completely disappears. Ironically, as soon as you finish the Triforce quest, the Tingle tuner becomes worthless. So he took your money and ran. But
that sounds like Tingle.
It's a feature that it's interesting asymmetric co-op play with off-TV screens and controllers and stuff that I think it's just a really novel way to experiment with the idea of having another player looking at a totally different screen, which maybe someday Nintendo will make a console about that.
I doubt it. That sounds too far-fetched.
So what does the Wii U version do with the Tingle tuner?
The Wii U version has you put Miiverse messages in a bottle that you throw into the ocean, and people that are connected to Miiverse can get your messages in a bottle. This feature no longer works because Miiverse is gone and has been for years now.
A while.
So it's just a feature that no longer does anything.
It was like the perfect setup for like a slam dunk. Here's the Tingle tuner on a controller that's made for it. You don't need these accessories. It's all right there built into the box. And then they threw it in the trash for something that currently no longer exists.
Yeah, so that's the single biggest disadvantage to playing HD at this point is if you want to find those statues, look it up online. That's where you get your information now. That's it. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Should have been born earlier. I think that might be like the single biggest failing. I don't think there's any other game that loses out as much from the removal of Miiverse.
No.
The next one I can think of is Smash's Miiverse stage, but who gives a shit? That was just Battlefield with a different coat of paint.
Yeah, like, this isn't even the last Zelda game that we're going to run into the removal of Miiverse with.
Yeah.
But this is definitely the one where it is affected the most, because they took out an entire feature of the original game that would have been perfect for this console and
replaced it with Miiverse.
Replaced it with nothing. It is now replaced with nothing. It is just not there.
Yeah, it's just as much fun as it sounds like, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, if you try to use that feature, it just gives you an error message.
Yeah.
It says, Miiverse is no longer working, sorry. Which must be really fun for people that don't know. I mean, now that we've finished the game and we've recorded the episode, I assume next week it'll be out on Switch, but
we've been working on it, you know.
Yeah, we're working on it.
There's rumors of it being any day now, so it really is just waiting for us.
Yeah, it'll just be, I guarantee you it'll be, let's say, August 1st.
I'm actually looking up, because I'm curious now. You know, the streamer DB Geek, who is playing through a bunch of Nintendo games for the first time, very recently played Wind Waker HD, and he had never played Wind Waker before. So I want to go find him running into the Tingle bottle.
Oh boy. But also, Tingle is a very interesting thing to talk about in this game, mainly because, yeah, he was introduced in Majora's Mask, but this is the game people know Tingle for. This is the one. When people think of Tingle's design, they think of the Wind Waker design. This is the design that got 2 entire ass games to himself, neither of which came out in America. Because in Majora's Mask, he's just a weirdo that likes to draw maps. And in Wind Waker, he is just straight up a con man and also might have slaves. That part's kind of unclear. We do know that those people are not there willingly.
Oh, well, so 2 of them are actually Tingle's brothers. David Jr. is not. David Jr. is not Tingle's brother. And it is super canon that they just kidnapped him.
Perfect. That's that. So, like, Tingle is a criminal in this game, and
when you talk to him, he's just like, I don't want to be here. They're not letting me leave.
Please free me. Yeah, Tingle is like a legit scumbag villain in this game, and it's great. But, like, he's not a villain that you're ever going to deal with, because you need somebody who's going to make those charts work. So you need to, give a little bit of a side eye, and, you don't abide by the fact that he's a kidnapping asshole. But, like, look, man, business is business. You gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
Fuck Tingle.
Does he show up in any of the others? Is this the last regular Zelda game he shows up in?
He's in Minish Cap.
Alright, he is in Minish Cap.
And then he got his own game.
It's been a really long time. He got 2 games. There are 2 Tingle games.
There are definitely more than 2.
Oh, probably. But I only know about 2. And they both look weird as shit. But yeah, this is the game that actually turned Tingle into a sort of popular character.
Or unpopular character, depending on who you ask.
For some people, that's the same thing.
According to Wikipedia, outside of Japan, Tingle received an overwhelmingly negative reception.
Yeah, he's really popular in Japan to the point where wasn't he like one of the top choices for We Want Him in Smash?
I don't know.
Like people in Japan, I believe, wanted him in Smash. Thank God they did not get what they wanted. I mean, he is technically in Smash. He's just not playable. So, they did get what they wanted, sort of.
I don't know if you want to talk at all about the game's big thing in sailing.
Sailing looks cool and feels cool and it is just Hyrule Field Ocarina of Time but worse. In that we've talked about, I think we talked about in the Ocarina episode where it's like, yeah, Hyrule Field was really like impressive when it first came out, but now, like, looking back, you look at it and there's nothing there. It's an empty fucking area. There's nothing in Hyrule Field, and that's fine, because Hyrule Field is smaller than the Great Sea.
Well, there's also the thing that it's like, it's not strictly true to say that there's nothing in Hyrule Field. It's just that the things that are in Hyrule Field aren't very interesting. Like if you can break open rocks and there's like a hole in the ground under them that you can go into, and there's a chest with 10 rupees, I guess. Thanks. But like, it's something, you can actually explore and find things that you may not have known about. In Wind Waker, it's like, gee, I wonder if the only island for the next 3 minutes of game time has a secret on it.
Yeah, for the most part. And while I don't mind sailing all that much, I will never go back to a game without the Swift Sail. Ever. I will never do it.
Remember when you finally got the Swift Sail, and then you were like, okay, time to go straight to the Forest Haven, and then you hit an invisible wall and were forced to go back to Dragon Roost Cavern first?
Yep. I do remember that.
This game is often praised for immediately letting you like have wide open exploration where you can go anywhere, as long as it is within these 3 tiles that the invisible walls will allow you to go into.
Those invisible walls don't happen again after that, though. Well, they do, but very rarely.
They do until you finish the Tower of the Gods.
And then after that, like, once you get through that, which
is the halfway point of the game.
Yeah.
Well, no, past the halfway point, because there's just 2 dungeons left.
I don't have a huge problem with it after that. That one was annoying, for sure. And also, the one that actually got me and annoyed me a lot was when you're supposed to go awaken the sages, and it's like, oh, there's one in Forest Haven and one in Dragon Roost. Where should we go first? And the dialogue implies you can do either one. No, you have to do Medley first.
Yeah, so the best part, in fact, is that you can actually get the Iron Boots immediately to go to the Wind Temple and get the song that you need to play for Makar. And then you get the song, go to the Forest Haven, and Makar's not there.
Yep, he only shows up after you have finished the Earth Temple. And that annoyed me. That was like, because again, the dialogue fucking implies you could do them in any order.
Mm-hmm. Not all the markers on your map imply you can do them in any order.
Yeah, that kind of peeved me. I wasn't a fan of that. But like, I don't know, sailing is cool conceptually. Being a pirate man, you're not a pirate man, but like you travel with pirates for like 2 seconds. That's pretty cool. It's not cool. There's nothing happens on that boat, but
you get to do manual labor on that boat.
You get on that boat and you do a stupid obstacle course, and then you get off that boat, and then you go back on that boat one time to rob them, and then you never get on that boat again. You're on that boat probably a grand total of 10 minutes throughout the entire game.
Errol spends more time on that boat than you do.
She sure does, and she deserves it. She deserves to be on a pirate ship. That is not me saying Errol is bad. That is me saying she deserves to be on a pirate ship, because don't we all?
Speaking of people that deserve to be on a pirate ship and don't get to be, Tetra.
So, Tetra's a weird thing for me because I really, really like Tetra. She's really cool. In the 2 seconds that she gets to be cool throughout the entire game.
Until she's immediately put into jail.
And then she puts on a dress and it's like, all right, now sit down and we're going to go do the rest of the game without you, sweetie. That's a little shitty. She does get to play a good part in the final boss, which I really like the final boss of this game. I'll say that. I don't think it's the best final boss, but I do really like it.
I like the aesthetic of the final boss. The fight itself sucks a lot.
I don't mind the fight itself a huge amount, but again, there are better Ganondorf fights.
I forget who it was in my chat, where it's like, I finished the Ganon fight, and they were like, wait, is that all? That's the fight?
Yeah, I think aesthetically that fight is probably the strongest. I know a lot of people really like the Twilight Princess boss, but that boss is poison. We'll talk about this when we get there. That boss is poison for me because of that horse section right before it. Because, hey, horse combat sucks in every game it's ever been in before a certain date.
It's good in Elden Ring, and in no other game before it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the fucking
one.
list. That's the list.
Games with good horse combat. Elden Ring.
And the list. And but I don't know, the aesthetic does a lot for it, yeah, where it's like the water is pouring down and
I'm playing Fire Emblem Warriors right now, and every time I class change to a class that has a horse, I'm like, nope, time to go back again. Like, the best feature in the game is a button that lets you get off the horse.
Beautiful. I also really like the ending being like having Tetra bounce a light arrow off your shield. She sure takes her fucking time deciding when she's gonna fire that arrow, but
well, she takes her time through the whole fight, because
she sure does.
Like, there's a substantial part of that fight where it just won't let you damage Ganondorf. You have to wait for her to shoot him.
Yeah, and she just won't. She just won't.
And then she gets knocked out of the fight.
Yeah, but that happens to all Zeldas at least once in my memory.
Not the Spirit Tracks Zelda.
Spirit Tracks isn't real.
The Spirit Tracks Zelda is actually incredible because she never stops taking an active role up to the very last moment of the game.
Matt, you couldn't even tell me what Spirit Tracks was made for. Because it's not a real video game. And the DS isn't a real console.
We are bonus gaming Spirit Tracks. That is a unilateral decision on my part. Spirit Tracks is awesome.
I will say I do kind of like the boss fights in this game in general, overall. Because, it's hard not to like them when they signify the end of the dungeon. But at least a couple of them are kind of, they're kind of creative.
I don't think I like any of them. Like, the best one is kind of boring. And that's the best they get. Kind of boring.
I think the only one that I really don't like is the Big Poe. That thing is stupid. And also, it fucked me over at one point because I had one left and I couldn't catch it in time. And for some reason, one is enough to become the giant Poe again, which
sick.
Is bullshit.
Goma is very boring. Kale Demos isn't a fight. Jaha sucks. Godon sucks. Godon is what if Bongo Bongo sucked. And then Mogera is let's put the best song in the game here so people don't realize how awful this fight is.
I don't think that boss is awful. It's easy. Boss is easy as shit.
It's tedious.
I don't know. I think it's satisfying yanking the worms out of the ground and then murdering them in front of their mother.
You do spend an awful time yanking the worms out of the ground when they're not what you're aiming at.
Yeah, but that's just Z targeting not working, which, still didn't work at this point. That's a problem the 64 games have too.
I feel like it was worse in this game, though.
I disagree. It's just as bad as both of the N64 games. Z targeting is really frustrating for me in pretty much all of the 3D Zelda games before a certain point. I want to say the first time it actually starts to work is Twilight Princess, but we'll see if I'm correct about that when we get there.
The thing about the 64 games, though, is that it's rare for them to put you in front of a bunch of enemies that you need to switch between. And in Wind Waker, it's very common for them to put you in a room with a bunch of enemies. So, you have to switch very often, and it just doesn't work. So the fact that switching just doesn't work in the N64 games doesn't matter as much.
I guess, but it also doesn't target things in the N64 games. Which is a problem I had in Wind Waker too. Hey, game, if I'm standing literally right next to an enemy, even if they're not on screen, the reason I hit the Z targeting button is to put them on screen.
Remember Kingdom Hearts 1 Z targeting?
I try not to. It at least works slightly better than this. Slightly.
Kingdom Hearts 1 wants you to be able to hit an enemy so bad that it will turn Sora at a 90-degree angle to hit the closest enemy that you're not locked onto.
Z-targeting does not work in this game. And maybe, again, this could just be something to do with the HD version. I don't know. I don't think it was significantly worse than it felt in the N64 games at any point, for me at least. But again, that all of this is, as we said earlier, predicated on the idea that I don't remember what the GameCube version feels like. It's been a decade. I don't remember.
My thought right now is, I hope the Wii U version it fixed this.
It was still pretty bad.
I think when we come around to connectivity, getting the Game Club going again, I think I will try out the Wii U version to see if it did in fact fix any of this.
Probably a good idea. But yeah, overall, I still like the game fine, but I think the second place is now Breath of the Wild with a fucking bullet.
Can second place be a bullet?
Pretty much. I mean, it can, yeah. You can shoot a second person. Guns have more than one bullet.
That's not what that expression means.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Any expression can mean anything if you believe hard enough. That's how language works.
Yeah, anyway, Wind Waker has been my least favorite 3D Zelda for a long while, but it's always kind of come with the asterisk that it's not bad, it's just the least good. And I kind of think it's bad.
I don't think it's in the same so when we talked about Mario Sunshine, the pre-show for that game was it's not bad, it's just bad for a Mario game standard. And then we recorded the episode. It's like, oh no, Mario Sunshine just sucks, like in general. I don't feel that way about Wind Waker. I think in the context of it being a Zelda game, it is not the best.
I can't get over the feeling in my head that Wind Waker and Mario Sunshine have extremely similar problems, to the point that I almost say, like, they're the same situation. It's just Wind Waker happens to also have a very strong aesthetic and art style, which Mario Sunshine does not. So a lot of people kind of let that carry Wind Waker a lot more than I personally think it deserves. So I think they are games with very similar problems that happened to be released around the same time and were rushed and put out the door before they were ready to go for very similar reasons.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those games where it's like, it has to be out for the holidays. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Sorry, it has to be out now.
And I think this era was a very painful era for them, where they had to learn that, because, like, of the last 3 games that we have played, they have all suffered from the fact that GameCube's not doing well. We gotta get this out the door. The only reason that Metroid Prime made it out the door a good game was because the development team went through horrific crunch, and none of them like talking about that game because they don't like it because of it. Literally 3 games in a row on this show, first-party Nintendo games, all rushed. And this is the era for Nintendo where they learned the hard lesson that games need that time. Because then Twilight Princess famously was delayed like 1,000,000 times. And I don't think we ever get a first-party Nintendo game that has such blatant "this game isn't finished" problems after this.
And also, like, you can see that happening now with Breath of the Wild 2, the sequel to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
That's been delayed like 3 times now.
Yeah.
And they still won't even tell us what it's called. Like, it's that hard. We still don't know what that fucking game is called. Anyways, one thing I do think is great about Wind Waker, though, is I really, really like the soundtrack overall of Wind Waker. Even though it is kind of a smaller soundtrack than most Zelda games, because a lot of areas don't have their own music.
Well, yeah, when the entire game is the same ocean.
Yeah, so, like, obviously, you've got the Great Sea theme. And I really like the Great Sea theme, especially later on when they orchestrate it in certain places. Like, this song orchestrated works so fucking well. Oh my god.
This is one of my favorite songs in the franchise.
It is just it feels like an adventure, and it works for sailing super, super well. And I just really, really, really like it. And you don't hear it much because sometimes it turns nighttime, and for some reason they decided the actual answer to that is it should just be silent. Which, I mean, yeah, that's what Ocarina and Majora do.
Yeah, but here's the thing about Ocarina of Time in particular, where the day-night cycle, it cheats a little bit, where nights are way shorter. I don't know if you knew that, but in Ocarina of Time, nights are shorter than days. So you have music way more often than not. And in Majora's Mask, the day-night cycle is the most important thing going on in that game. In Wind Waker, I'm pretty sure nights are exactly as long as days. So,
and also nothing changes.
Yeah, and nothing changes. So 50% of your time on the ocean is just without music.
Yeah, so that's a bummer. But the song that usually plays is really good.
And we are a far cry from the days of Xenoblade, where every single area has a song with a day version and a night version. You're gonna love that.
I've heard both versions of Gower Plain at the very least.
Mm-hmm. But obviously the other song from this game, well, there's like 2 other songs from this game that I think tend to get a lot of play. One of them being Dragon Roost Island.
Dragon Roost Island fucking rules. This song is great.
It is very good.
I think it might be my favorite song in the game in general. It feels cool.
I have this weird reaction with this song where it's like, I don't think this is a very good song, but I don't think it's the best song in the game or anything. But like, everyone says that it's the best, and that makes me angry, so I hate this song. Even though, like, objectively, this song is very good.
Yeah, that checks out. That sounds like you.
Yeah.
I really like a lot of the island music in this game. Like, I actually really like Outside Island. I don't think it's among the best area music in the franchise, but I do think that it's a fun, nice little piece for a starting area. I think it does its job really well. Again, this is another song that translates really well to being orchestrated.
It's a really good song that has like a very layered feel. Well, I guess layered's not the right word for it, but it's like there's a lot going on with this song where it has like distinct sections, and it has a lot of those distinct sections.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very good.
Yeah, I think it fits really well as the starting hometown of the game. And I think it also, like, obviously there's one other island that takes from another classic Zelda theme, but parts of Outside Island feel very much inspired by Kokiri Village, which I assume is what they were trying to, because you've got Windfall Island, which is straight up supposed to be Kakariko in specific parts, but like changed up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the windmill and everything.
Yeah. But like the song too.
Did you light the windmill?
I don't think I lit the windmill, no.
You shouldn't.
I didn't do a lot of side stuff.
I did a lot of side stuff. That's part of why I don't like the game. The side stuff's like all bad.
I mentioned on stream that I have done a run where I filled out the entire sea chart, and I was good. I'm good. I don't need to do it again. I'm set. So basically, if you look at my sea chart, there's like 5 islands filled out, and it's just the ones where I have to. It's the one. There's a point where I realized that I had forgotten to get the chart filled out at Forest Haven, and so I didn't remember where Forest Haven was. And I had to like wander around a bunch of places, be like, where the fuck is Forest Haven? I don't remember. Shit.
It's directly south of Dragon Roost. You're only allowed to go in 2 directions at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, but this wasn't at the beginning of the game. This was the second time you have to visit Forest Haven. I forgot where it was because I didn't get it marked on my map.
It's one of the warp points. Go to the warp point directly south of Dragon Roost.
Never. Why would I do that?
Because that's where Forest Haven is.
That doesn't sound correct. That seems... Nah, I don't believe you. The only other song that I can really think of that I really, really dig in this game, and you might have more, I don't know, but...
I've really only got 2, and I'm pretty sure one of them is the one you're about to say.
Yeah, we're probably both in agreement that Mulgira is fucking great.
I would say, objectively, this is the best song in the game.
50-50. I do think it is a close second for me, at the very least. I think that it is a testament to how well this song works with the GameCube font, that this is the one song on this soundtrack I think sounds worse if you orchestrate it.
That actually makes me wonder, do you have an opinion on the GameCube soundtrack versus the Wii U soundtrack?
I don't remember enough about how the original GameCube soundtrack sounds. The HD soundtrack isn't super orchestrated.
No, so it's in this weird spot where, like, I think the GameCube soundtrack is better because they use different, like, it's the same compositions exactly, but the MIDI sound fonts that they use are different. And the ones in the HD version aren't good enough to sound better. They just sound more like cheap MIDIs instead of sounding like old game music.
Yeah, I don't think they sound cheap, but again, I don't remember what the GameCube version sounds like, and I'm going to assume, again, like, songs like Mulgira feel like they were specifically working with the GameCube sound font, and therefore that song was built to work best with the GameCube sound font, because when you switch Mulgira over to real instruments, it just doesn't sound as good. It just doesn't. And that's weird to me, but that's just the case.
I don't know if you plan on using the Wii U version of the soundtrack for the podcast or the GameCube version, but, like, maybe just, like, for this song specifically, like, to compare it, play both.
I'll probably use the GameCube version because that is technically the game on the timeline. That's where we are.
Well, for the sake of comparison, here's the Wii U version.
Yeah, that's it in terms of the soundtrack that I can think of where I really think it's worth talking about. Again, a lot of the islands are just silent. I don't think Forest Haven's music is all that memorable.
It's really not. So it's kind of like Wind Waker actually doesn't have that many good songs. It's just the good songs it has are very, very, very good.
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
And the other one that I really like is the Ganondorf battle.
So I like the Ganondorf battle a lot, but I like it a lot better when it is orchestrated. Because I do think that it sounds kind of goofy in the GameCube font at certain points, but like mixed with the aesthetics of that fight, no, it works really well.
I'll admit, like, the midis don't help this one.
They're rough, but I can't fault them for that. It was 2002. But I guess there is one more song that should be mentioned because I do think it is fantastic, and that's the title theme.
Which is also the credits theme.
And part of this is just, I played violin and I really, really fucking love violin pieces. This might be my favorite title theme of any Zelda game there is. I can't think of one that I'd say tops it for me.
I want to say Majora's Mask, but Majora's Mask's title theme is just Clocktown, so it's cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Wind Waker.
It's just a fantastic. It's this jig sort of theme, and it just the strumming and the violin, and it just all comes together perfectly. And I really, really, really fucking love that song. And that's all I've got. I don't have anything else to say about Wind Waker. There's a lot of water, too much water.
I think I do have more to say, but I'm going to have the chance to say more in the future when the NWR Connectivity podcast gets its Zelda Game Club around to doing the Wind Waker, which I said in the pre-show last episode that, like, hey, that's going to be soon, and then Breath of the Wild 2 was delayed. We were doing this as, like, a lead-up to Breath of the Wild 2. So, it's still going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. Which is impressive for how long this took us.
Yeah, this game took us a little while. Sorry about that, folks. Things happened. At one point, Matt had COVID. So
Yeah. We've kind of like publicly had an argument about this, but it's like, I feel like we should, if a game is taking so long that we're going to have 2 bonus episodes in a row, we should probably have a check-in episode, even if we don't think we're going to have a lot to talk about. Because, like, I could have easily, like, gone more specific on, like, here's why this dungeon sucks. Instead of just saying, yeah, all the dungeons suck and leave it at that.
Unfortunately, that shouldn't be a problem with the next game. Because that game is built for us to have multiple episodes based on it.
We have built-in planned episodes for that one already. But, like, if there's a game that we don't have one planned for, maybe we should consider it if it goes that way. But
well, I don't think we're going to hit that for a while again.
We didn't think we were going to hit it for this one.
Yeah, but all the games from here to, like, Twilight Princess are either RPGs or games that are for sure going to be, like, 1 to 3 sessions.
It's funny how we're, like, pretty much exactly halfway through this, but it doesn't feel like it because all the games ahead of us are real fucking long.
Yeah, there are a lot of very long games coming up, especially,
This is numerically the halfway point, but
hourly it is not.
Hourly, it's nowhere near.
Let's see how many estimated remaining hours according to How Long to Beat's numbers do we have? 963 hours of video game.
How many have we done so far?
We have done. I only have the specific number for me, but I assume we're around the same length for most of these games, except for the games where like one of us beat it in one go and the other didn't. But for me, 350 hours.
That's less than 960.
It is. So yeah, we are not hourly at the halfway point, but numerically, yes, this is the halfway point of the list.
Yeah, technically, one of the check-in episodes for the next game would be the literal halfway point, but who cares? It's odd numbers.
Yeah, odd numbers are stupid and nobody should believe they exist.
This is game 42 out of 85.
So yeah, we should jump into that other game.
Why?
I don't know. You seem like you want to play it. And that game is our first Fire Emblem game.
It is, huh?
The game represented, man, it took us a while.
Depending on who you ask, it's the first Fire Emblem game.
Is the game representing fighter number 25, Roy. It is the 2003 Game Boy Advance game, Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade, or as it is known in North America, Fire Emblem. And we are not alone for this game. We have a guest. In fact, boy howdy, I hope you enjoy guest episodes, because the next, 3, woo! Joining us is, everybody please welcome Alex DeFreitas of NWR. Welcome!
Hi! Roy's our boy, but he's not in this particular game.
He is not.
Not really.
I have been told that the game Roy is actually in sucks, so we're not playing.
Joe, you would fucking hate that game.
Didn't you hate that game?
I did. And if I hated it...
But yeah, Joe, you shouldn't start with that game.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we got this one. And they didn't just, localize the other one.
Those Americans, we're just gonna be nice to them. We're gonna give them this one.
You are gonna run into a weird thing in the middle of the game, where it's like, oh, you remember these guys from Roy's game, right?
And then I'll just pretend that I do.
Yes.
It's fine.
The game also ends on a big cliffhanger that never goes anywhere because the cliffhanger's for the previous game. This is a prequel.
Beautiful. So, Alex mentioned me starting on this game. Technically, that's not true. However, it is kind of true. I have only played Awakening Fates and Three Houses. Those are the only 3 Fire Emblem games I have played to credit roll. And you may notice that those are the 3 that have casual mode front and center.
Yep.
Excuse me, there's a 4th game that has casual mode front and center that is on our list.
Yeah, but is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Isn't there, is there casual mode in Mystery of the Emblem?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You guys are playing Mystery?
We're playing New Mystery, yeah.
Yeah, it's Marth's game.
Not Shadow Dragon. Okay, interesting.
Because Joe would hate Shadow Dragon.
Okay, fair.
So yeah, I've never fully played a Fire Emblem game without casual mode. I think I played maybe a third of Sacred Stones a long time ago and had a very bad experience with that. So this will be fun.
So, Joe, I told you this already, but the key to getting you to enjoy this is use save states often. I treat this game as a puzzle game where you're trying to find the right solution. And if you input the wrong solution, then just go back one turn and find the correct one. I think that is the best way to get you personally to enjoy Fire Emblem with permadeath.
Yeah, probably. Look, people who have been listening to this show for the almost 4 years we've been going, I am not a patient man. In fact, by the time this episode comes out, hey, we are 4 years old. Hell yeah.
Congrats.
I am not a patient man. I have little patience for things. This is a personal issue, but stuff like Fire Emblem where the 2 options are you either restart the whole map or your character is dead forever, those don't work for me. I don't do well with those, so the presence of save states will definitely help.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would kind of like want to see your reaction to whether you would want to choose your real life time or choose your wife, your anime wife. Like, I would want to see that on stream, but I understand why you wouldn't want to put yourself through that horrible pain.
So I see Alex has already called that a wife will be emerging from this game.
Yes.
Oh, it's Fire Emblem. Of course there will.
Absolutely.
That's true. I guess this is Wife the game.
The only question is, who will it be?
Mm-hmm.
Who will my profile picture be in the next?
I'm guessing Ninian.
Ninian. Interesting.
I vaguely know Ninian from the short time I played Heroes. She is very cute. We'll see if I like her as a character.
I'm trying to think of, like, somebody who could absolutely beat you up.
Most of them, they're soldiers.
But is sweet, and, like, Lynn fits that to a T. Somebody who's rougher, probably Veda. Fiora probably could be another good one. She's like...
I'm glad even beyond my friend group, my brand has become, yeah, he just likes women that are going to murder him.
Oh, like the Pegasus Knights are like, they've got this like Sailor Moon design going on.
Oh yeah. No, Veda is a character from Sailor Moon, just straight up.
Oh, Veda too? Okay, but I was talking about like Fiora.
No, so the thing about Veda, Joe, I'm gonna post a picture of Veda in the chat. This is a specific character from Sailor Moon.
Okay.
Is that just Jedi? It's just Jedi! Okay. It's just Jade with boobs. Alright, here we go. Yeah, I am actually, like, partially afraid of playing this game, especially on stream. More than a couple of times, I thought about saying, like, I'm just gonna Rondo of Blood this one and play it off stream, but no, I'm not gonna do that. I will be taking over Thursdays, though. I will be on the Thursday block for this game most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, I've never played it, so... It's possible people want to see me cry. I don't even know why I said possible. People want to see me cry. I've learned this over the years.
I'd say of the Fire Emblem games on our list, this is the one I'm least familiar with because I've only played it once. And it's been a while since I played it. But I'm going to be playing the Hector route, which is mostly the same with a couple of key chapters being different.
Right, yes. Either different or additional.
Yeah.
So what are these routes then? Please explain this to me.
You unlock Hector after you finish the game, and that's so it doesn't matter to you.
Oh.
Yeah, there's Lynn mode, which is basically just a tutorial. There's Ellawood, which is the real story, and then there's Hector, which is the same story, but from Shadow's point of view. And by Shadow, I mean Hector.
The dark story.
The dark story. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, remember how Three Houses had part 1 and part 2, and you were forced to replay part 1 for all the routes?
Yep.
This is like the same thing, except you don't have to replay part 1.
Oh, cool.
In fact, I believe in Japan, you could just like straight up go into Ellawood mode without ever having to play Lynn mode off a fresh file.
Which, like, I don't recommend doing, because Lynn mode is kind of important to the story.
And also, I'm a baby, so I probably need the tutorial.
Although, if you've literally ever played Fire Emblem before, Lynn mode is so frustrating.
Yeah, it is. It was definitely built with, like, hey, this is a new genre for a brand new audience with a lot of rules, so let's kind of take them baby steps through it all.
And boy, do those baby steps take a while.
Yep, they sure do. But it's worth doing.
It's like a 6-hour tutorial.
Yeah.
My strategy in Fire Emblem up to now has been, I'm just gonna turn Petra into God, and nothing will kill her, and she will murder everything that touches her. And I have a feeling that strategy's not gonna work here. So...
I mean, every Fire Emblem game has the one character that you can just turn into God. So...
Not the Lords, not this time around.
Yeah, it's never the main character. Except in Path of Radiance.
There are some really good characters that are like much stronger than Ike, I think, in Path of Radiance, but I'll digress.
Yeah, I just I have a feeling that I can't turn things into meat shields in this one, so it's gonna be...
I mean, you can, just only once.
I have to just... the way it usually works. I'm gonna have to think, and as anybody who has watched me play a game for any of this show knows, that ain't my strong suit. So this is gonna be interesting.
Joe, are you gonna limit yourself to just one save state?
Fuck no. I'm a coward, and I will proudly say that.
Okay, so multiple save states per chapter? Yeah, you'll be fine.
I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably save state at the start of every turn.
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to learn how RNG works in this
You've
game.
already explained that to me, sorry.
Well, fuck. Okay. Why did I do that?
You explained it to me when we were talking about it in one of the holiday wrap-up episodes, I think, in the 2021 wrap-up.
Why would I do that?
But also... Actually, it might have been in the 2020 wrap-up, because we thought we were going to have made it to Fire Emblem by the time 2021 ended.
Yeah, look how that went.
That went really well, July. But you also explained it to me at one point because we were friends when I had my bad experience with Sacred Stones, and it was related to that. So...
Well, now that you know it for certain, you can plan around it.
Sure. Let's say that.
Yep, and I'll be streaming as well. I'll be planning it to do a Iron Man stream of Ellawood Hard Mode.
Not brave enough to do Hector Hard?
So I actually attempted a Hector Hard Mode run last year, anticipating this happening eventually. And Hector Hard Mode is just... It's just too difficult. It kind of restricts you too much to the point where you have to really know the game inside and out. And this might be the game that I've replayed the most, but yet I'm not like a master. I don't replay games a whole lot. So the fact that I've replayed this game 4 or 5 times says a lot. However, it does say that I still am not ready for Hector Hard Mode Iron Man. If I wanted to just do a regular run of Hector Hard Mode, I could probably do it just fine. But I like the added challenge of doing an Iron Man where if it's kind of like a Nuzlocke. It's a challenge run where if anytime I lose a character, I can't reset and redo the chapter to get them back. I just have to live with my choices.
Yeah, I think once we get to Path of Radiance, I might do an Iron Man, because that's a game I know far better than this one. But that's a long ways out.
I will be dead and cold in the ground before I try one of those. Before anybody on Twitter tries to fucking suggest that to me.
Do an Iron Man for Awakening.
You know what? Sure, I'll do that. Casual mode Iron Man. Live with my choices. Okay. Well, in that case, I think we can go ahead and wrap it up. This is going to be one of those games that has multiple parts for episodes, because it is from what I am aware, relatively long, but also has some pretty well planned out points that Matt's already sort of figured out as to where we can stop and
there are big story moments.
Yeah. So that'll be multiple parts for this, which I think this is the first time since
Final Fantasy.
Is it since Final Fantasy? Holy shit,
Yeah.
Really?
There were a couple of games we should have done it for.
Holy shit. Final Fantasy was so long ago.
Yeah.
Damn. Also, get very used to this, because a lot of games coming up are gonna be this.
And there's a lot of Fire Emblem games coming up.
There's a lot of Fire Emblem, a lot of JRPGs, and a lot of shit that's just long.
Can you believe that Banjo took longer than Final Fantasy and we didn't do check-in episodes?
Yeah, but I wouldn't have wanted to talk about Banjo-Tooie more than once.
Yeah, instead we just made that episode way too long.
Yeah. Anyways, Alex, where can people find your things?
You can find me at Twitter at Defritos. That's DEFRITOS. You can also find my work at Connectivity. NWR Connectivity, that's a podcast I do with Nintendo World Report. I'm usually just the editor, but sometimes I'll show up as a voice whenever they need me.
To talk about Castlevania, usually.
Yeah, sometimes we talk about Castlevania 3 times in a row without the main cast for some reason. Yeah, if you like this show, there's some Castlevania episodes you might want to pay attention to. That all dropped on April 1st for some reason.
Odd.
Yeah, and then also I do some video work, some reviews and previews on Nintendo World Report's YouTube channel.
As for us, you've heard this before probably, but if you haven't, let me tell you where you can find Smashterpieces. You can find it at Smashterpieces on YouTube and on Twitter. That's pretty convenient that you can find it by looking up the name of the show. You can also find me individually on Twitter at StringPixel. You can find Matt at Grimace2Menace. You can find our editor, Peter, over at Pete Speak Easy. I also happen to do another podcast with Peter called Original Sound Chat. I think it's very good, and you should listen to it. It's basically the part of this show where we talk about the soundtrack. It's that, but researched and formatted in a way that makes sense to humans. You should check it out. It's good. I like it. And you can also find all three of our work at NintendoWorldReport.com, as Alex said. And you can find the show there. As well as at twitch.tv/Nintendo World Report, you can find our streams of all of these games and more. You know, like Sonic 3, Omachow Edition.
And Mario Party.
And Mario Party. And
Mario Party's the real shit.
It has become that, yes. You can find a stream at all sorts of things there, so you should go check that out. And I don't have anything else. So with that, my name is Joe.
My name is Matt.
My name is Alex.
And we will see you next time for our first episode discussing Fire Emblem: The Blazing Blade, aka Fire Emblem.